morning, everybody, or good night, depending on where you're at. This is JR, and I want to welcome you to today's coaching call. We've got a full house today. I really appreciate all you guys showing up. That is awesome. I'm joined with Jessica. You want to say hello, Jessica?
Good morning.
Okay, and we also have Alex on here today. That's a treat. Hello, Alex.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I hear you over there. And we know we've got a real treat today because, you know, everybody's, well, not everybody, some of us are at the stage of running some ads. And I had a lot of questions on that stuff. And, you know, ads are probably the most important thing you can do because without ads, you don't have anybody buying your product. So Alex has put together a really cool presentation. So he's going to take the reins today and show you all those little tricks and secrets and hacks and all that stuff that you need to have a successful campaign. So he's going to walk you through all that. So Alex, you ready? I'll just turn things over to you.
All right, sounds good.
All right, let me switch my screen here, and we're going to make Alex the presenter. And guys, you know, type in the comments there. I'm going to be looking at those. Yeah, I didn't even check. Can you guys, everybody hear well? Is everything coming through good? I see Yeving in there. I see Mark. I see John. Cool. Yes, John, there will be question and answers, so that's perfect. I see Kim in there, and there's Jack in Texas. Awesome. So you guys, just type in there, can you hear me okay? Is that the sound coming through all right? Is that way we can make any adjustments if we need to? Daniel's there. Hey, Daniel, what's going on, man? He said he could hear me. John says he can hear me fine. So we'll get started. I'm going to turn this over to Alex. Guys, you should see your screen change in just a second. And then, hey, looks like Alex has got his screen there. Just got to make it a little bit bigger so we can all see that, Alex. There it is. Oh, man, it's got a waterfall and everything going on there. Nice setup. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, can we just check real quick if everyone can hear me as well?
Yeah, type in the box there if you can hear Alex. The sound is good for me. Somebody says, somebody else type in there, I can hear Alex.
Yep, got it.
Okay.
I think we're good to go.
All right.
Okay, so what I want to do today is we've actually covered a lot of these things in the videos, in the modules, but I want to do another super step-by-step presentation and just show you guys with screenshots this time, because I think in those videos that we recorded, for some of you maybe we're moving too quickly a little bit, so I want to make sure that you have all the steps in the slides as well, so that you're good to go with Facebook ads. So I've got a bunch of slides here, and I'll try to be as quick as possible so that we don't end up looking at this for 2 hours. So I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to get started right now. So step number one, what I want to do now is just walk you through how you should set up your ad. So once you've got the page running, you created your account, then you're going to start with creating your ad. So step number one is picking your marketing objective. So when it comes to your marketing objective, the first thing you want to do when you're starting out is go with traffic. Okay, so pick here under consideration, go with traffic, and that's how you want to get started. Now later on, once you get some conversions, you can see here you've got under conversion another step called conversions. So you can pick that one as well, but I only recommend you go with that one after you've got some conversions on your ad, because the way this is going to work, Facebook is going to see who is buying from you, and then when you optimize your ads for conversions, they're going to make sure they get more of the same type of people looking at your ads. So when you get started, go with traffic, but later on you want to look into also targeting by conversions, because you are going to get better results, but you do need a few sales before Facebook can serve the right audience to you based on conversions. So that's step number one. Step number two, very simple, but if you're just starting out and you haven't set up an ad before, it's going to ask you to just confirm this. So simply select account country, currency, time zone, and click next. Very simple. Then step number three, what we want to do here is look at the traffic and also the offer. So good thing about the offer is we don't need to use this right now, so just going to leave this turned off. And when it comes to traffic, for now, you just want to focus on website traffic. So right now we are testing some stuff with messenger ads and traffic, but right now, if you're just starting out, you definitely want to go for website traffic. And once we actually do a little bit more testing on the messenger part, we can explain that to you guys as well, so you can give that a shot too. But our best performing method right now is just targeting website traffic. So step number 4, once you've set that up, now it's going to get a little bit, there's going to be a little bit more stuff for you guys to do. And this, I think JR explained all of this in audio, but I've seen a lot of people in the group kind of deviating from this and doing their own thing a little bit more than they should in the beginning. So it's not a bad thing, but if you want to make sure that you start off on the right foot, then I recommend having these settings set up. So you want to start with the US. I've seen people try to target other countries, and that's fine. We do have, when we scale, we target other countries as well, but just to be sure that you're starting off the right way, I recommend that you target the US. That's what we always do. When
can I jump in there for 1 second?
Sure.
Guys, what you want to do as he's going through this, because we're going to have this up later, but you can take some screenshots. You just hit Shift Command and 4, and you can just drag and copy some of these screens here, because this is really good information, and you don't want to miss it. I just want to add that in there so they know what to do, so they don't get lost later on, Alex.
Sure, and also I can make these slides available later on along with the coaching call when we post it, so you guys can have that along with your screenshots as well. All right, so yeah, the first thing, country, make sure you go after US. And then you want to think about your audience. You want to narrow it down a little bit. So think about your product and who would actually be the people buying it. So I always like to narrow this down. For example, if you're selling something for product that maybe older people would prefer, then make sure you actually target that in the age group. So the same thing with gender, right? So think about it. Is it a product that mostly men would buy, maybe women? And see how you can narrow this down as much as possible. And the way to figure this out is just to use common sense when you think about the product. So who would be the people buying the product that you want to promote? And that's how you do it. It's really not a lot of science behind it, but you do need to put in a few minutes just thinking about it. And that's how you can narrow down your audience. The next thing that you want to do is you want to start drilling down on targeting your buyer audience, and you want to do this as precisely as possible. So how do you do this? Well, you've got demographics, interests, and behaviors. So obviously, we've talked about Audience Analyzer and how you can use that to narrow things down. And I'll get to that on the next slide. But first, just want to say, while you're doing the ad here, you also always want to take a look at the potential reach. So what I like to do is start within 300 to 500K, maybe 1 million max, but I wouldn't go over that definitely. So keep it somewhere between 300 to 500,000, and this is going to be the audience that we're going to reach. So keep in mind, we're going to be spending a couple of dollars a day to test things out. So even if your audience is a bit smaller than 300K, that's fine. You just don't want to go too big on this. You want to keep a small audience in the beginning so that we can properly test it out with a couple of dollars. So now I'm going to get back to this, but first let's take a quick look at Audience Analyzer. And I want to show you how I would do it. For example, if I want to promote a product from AliExpress that has something to do with photography. So it could be one of those cool mini drones that can take photos, or I don't know, even a selfie stick, something like that. So I have no idea, I'm not into photography that much, and I have no idea who would this audience be. So then what I do is I go into Audience Analyzer and I type photography over here, and then what it's going to do is show me a bunch of interests. So when I look at these interests, I can already start to get some ideas. So I'm just using common sense here. I'm not familiar with this industry, and you can see in this example, if we were to go for that mini drone, what we could do is we could go for digital photography. Makes sense. Also nature, landscape, wildlife photography. So people who are maybe interested in that could really use a drone. So especially for like wildlife photography, it would be really cool to have a drone and then be able to take cool photos and videos of that. So you've got a bunch of more suggestions here. You can go over them in Audience Analyzer and just see how you can figure that out. And then what you can do actually is select these interests, and you can click Get Suggestions, and Facebook's going to give you even more suggestions through Audience Analyzer. So that's how you narrow this down, and you want to spend a good maybe 15, 20 minutes on this and just think a little bit about these interests. And if you're not sure what some of these things are, go ahead and Google them. Find these groups on Facebook, see what it actually means, you know, what nature photography is, what kind of photos those are, and just try to use common sense when doing this. And that's pretty much it. Just use some time, spend some time, and go over it, think about it, and then decide who you're going to target. So it's not difficult, but when you create the ads, the majority of the time I just spend thinking about the interests. So that's the important thing, because I want to figure out what would be the best thing to target. Because if I were to go for just photography, you know, it's not really going to work, because it's too many interests in there, and the audience is just going to be huge. So as you can see, 671 million people. So definitely not a good idea to target something that's so broad. That's why you want to narrow it down, and that's why Audience Analyzer is such a good tool for this. So let me just go through a couple more slides here, and then you guys can let me know if you have any questions about the stuff that I've just talked about. So step number 5, once you've narrowed down your audience, the next step on Facebook is to pick your placement. So Facebook always tries to push automatic placement, and if you go for that, that's okay, but it's going to put your ads in audience networks, messengers, and Instagram, and it's not bad. So Instagram, for example, it's good, but when you're starting out, especially because we're only spending a couple of bucks a day, I recommend you go with Facebook only as the platform. So I haven't had a lot of luck with the audience network. For some ads, I can get some conversions, but typically doesn't really work that well, so I try to avoid it. Instagram, later on, I do actually use it when I scale, but if you're starting out with $5, $10 a day, then if you just go for Facebook, that's going to be enough. So I recommend you start off with these placements, and it might actually cost you a little bit more per click, but it's definitely going to convert better than the audience network. So now the last thing is the budget. So let's talk a little bit about the budget, because I've seen some people saying they've spent quite a bit of money on ads, and the goal for me here is to make sure that you guys understand that you don't need to spend too much money on one ad, and it's easy to be able to tell if an ad is working or not after spending 10, 15, 20 bucks max. So what you want to do is start with a daily budget of $5, and you can run your ad continuously, or just to be safe, you can set a start and end date. So let's say we run it for 3 days, which is what I would recommend. That's $15. And then what happens if it's working well? Perfect. You can increase this, and you can keep running it and start scaling it. But if it's not, then it's just going to turn itself off after 3 days. When it comes to the other stuff, I don't typically touch anything, so I just leave optimization for ad delivery, link clicks, bid amount automatic, and everything else I just leave as is. So let me see. Yeah, so that's kind of phase 1. So I want to see if you guys have any questions, and also I want to see if GR has anything to add here.
No, I think this is some really good information. And I was putting up a thing in the house the other day, and I had to measure, and I had to use a level, and I had to put a couple holes in the wall. And I remember something my dad told me when I was a kid, and he says, always measure twice and cut once. When you're doing these ads, guys, it's very tempting to go, hey, there's an audience of 1 million people, I'm going to send it to them, without doing any research whatsoever. It's like, Alex was saying for photography, I mean, my gosh, there's so many different things for photography, Like if he's selling a drone and he wants to sell it to photographers, and he just goes photography, he's going to get wedding photographers who probably won't even use a drone, or he's going to get glamour shot photographers. You're not going to use a drone there. So understand that you want to target this. You want to spend time setting all this up. You don't want to just run an ad, because if you just run an ad, you're not going to do well, you know, and then people get frustrated. And the other thing I want to tell you is the whole point in running ads is not to find out one that works, it's to find out the ones that don't work. I know that sounds crazy, but you're gonna run ads, and Alex will tell you, anybody who advertises on Facebook, the experts will tell you this. You know, people who do ads all day long say, well, I need to set up 10 ads and see which one's going to convert. You know, because I see people get discouraged and they go, oh my gosh, I ran an ad and I didn't make any money. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. 8 out of 10 won't make any money. That's how it works. But the point is, it's not like a casino where you go in and you plop down $1,000 on red and you win or lose. What you do is you go down and you find 10 audiences and you put $5 on each one, and then one of them hits and makes you 500, and that wipes out all your problems with the other ones. Would you agree with that, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen also a lot of people, I think, spending a bit too much money on one ad. So if you're going to spend, you know, I've seen some people saying they spent about $200 or so, and
Ooh.
I've seen the majority of that was on just a couple of ads. So if you're going to spend that much money, make sure that you go through as many ads as possible. So 10, 15 bucks from one ad, and you move on. And if you're going to spend $200 and test ads like that with 10 bucks an ad, you're definitely going to find something that's going to work. So just make sure you don't spend too much money on one ad. You spend 10 bucks, you don't get any conversions, that's it. You got to, you know, kill the ad and move on.
And it's kind of like the table, you know, the casino table. Don't stay at the table if you're losing. Okay, some people will run an ad for $5, which is right, and they got 3 audiences, which is fine, but they run it for 2 weeks going, well, maybe it'll hit. It's not going to hit. You know, usually what I've found is however an ad starts out is how it ends up. So don't sit there and just keep throwing more money away. What you want to do is change what you're doing. Now, the reason people don't change what they're doing is because it involves more work. They've got to find a new audience. They've got to change their landing page. They've got to change their ad. They just don't want to. They've made one ad. They've made one landing page, and they want to keep throwing it at audiences, and it's probably wrong. So, you know, that's something. And the other thing I want to say is the congruency. You know, I see ads all the time, and just because you see ads doesn't mean they're working, guys. So don't assume that there's an ad out that you saw, you know, and it's working. Now, odds are, if it's got tons of shares and likes and comments and all that, well, yeah, it's probably working. But, you know, make sure that whatever that ad is, whatever that picture is, whatever those wording is, if it's like, you know, free book plus shipping, whatever the heck it is, which is what we do, when they click on that ad, that they end up on a page that says free book plus shipping with the same image. You know, that congruency is huge in the psyche of people. If they see something they're interested in, they click and it looks different when they get there, they're out of there. So that's really super, super important when you're running ads. Somebody's asking a couple questions in here. Okay, the budget, Partha, is in US dollars, so I don't know how to convert it to yours, but, you know, that's we're talking about US dollars, just so you know. Let's see, somebody's saying, how about, Mark's asking about the carousel ads versus a single, carousel image versus single image. And you want to stick with single images right now. And, excuse me, the biggest thing I've ever noticed about beginners, and I taught salespeople for many, many years, is they always want to change things in the beginning. And I know you're just asking the question, Mark, but don't change the methods we're giving you now. Here's what you should do. Do exactly what we tell you right now, and in 6 months, once you've got a bunch of sales, then you can start, you know, messing around with stuff. But, you know, we're giving you best practices, and then somebody's going to say, well, yeah, you know, I had a friend who ran a carousel, and they made, you know, $10 million or whatever it is. There's always an exception to the rule, but we're giving you the things that work most often, okay? So that's what you want to stick with, and what you'll find is if you do that over a 6-month period of time and you're making some money, you're not going to want to change it to something else. And I'm sure there's people out there that do great with carousel ads, but my thing is stick to what's simple right now. And if you do that, you're probably going to have more success, because if you take all of our rules and then you change 3 or 4 of them, you know, well, I can't tell you what the results are going to be. You know, maybe they'll be great, But I gave you these rules, and Alex gives you these ideas because they work. So important. What do you have to say about that, Jessica?
Yeah, I mean that's true. We're giving you an outline of success, and you're welcome to change it. I mean that's totally up to you. But how are we going to tell you? You can't come back to us and say, well, I changed X, Y, and Z. Why didn't it work out? Well, maybe because you changed X, Y, and Z. But later on, definitely test things. I mean, that's how you're really going to. But you need to start, I guess, is what JR is trying to say. You need to start, and then you can start testing things and seeing what may work better for your audience, because every audience is different.
Very, very true. Alex, what other input would you have on when they're selecting? I know it gets really confusing in here. What about organization for their ads? Can you give me any input on that? 'Cause I know you're a real organized guy.
Yeah, so actually when it comes to organizing the ads, I'm not the best guy there, so I don't do the best job. But yeah, basically what I do is just split them by the product that I'm advertising. And I try to stay consistent with the name, and that's pretty much it. So I just put the ads, if I'm targeting the drone thing and I want to test out a couple of ads there, then I'm going to go ahead and have one campaign for that and just put all the ads for the drone in there. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I do want to give you a little bit of input on doing these ads. You're going to have your campaign, and then you're going to have your ad sets, and then you're going to have your ads. Your campaign is going to be, let's say you're giving away a free book. Okay, cool. That's your campaign. Your ad set is where you decide on your audience. Okay, so let's say you're deciding on survivalist. We're doing one like that. Okay, and that's going to be my audience. My ad is the actual ad. But be careful, because I had this confusion when I got into ads. I was like, well, I want to change the audience. You can't change the audience on your ad. You have to change it in your ad set. So let's say I wanted to go to survivalist for my ad sets, and then when I got to the ad section, I could put 5 different ads with 5 different images in there. So that's real important that when you're doing that, you take your ad set and maybe say free book survivalist. And then when you get to the ad itself, of course it's free book survivalist because it's under that ad set, but you're going to want to put in there, picture, side picture, front picture, video of book, whatever, because those are all just different ads going to that same ad set, which is that same audience. And type in there if that makes sense, because I know that's confusing stuff. Does that make sense to everybody? That's where people really get tripped up. They don't label their ads, correctly, and if you don't label them correctly, oh my God, is it confusing? It's just nuts.
Yeah.
Somebody also asked, what criteria do you use that the ad isn't working? Well, what criteria did you set up? So if it's an opt-in, and after 3 days you're not getting any opt-ins, it didn't work. If it's to get sales and you didn't get any sales after 3 days, it didn't work. So if you're not getting clicks and that's your criteria, I want to get clicks, then it didn't work. So, that's what you want to look at. And if you have any questions, guys, type them in that box there. Don't be afraid right now. We're at Q&A right now. We're going to be ending in a little bit, but I want to get all your questions answered. Do you have any more slides in there, Alex, or is that it?
Oh, yeah, I got a bunch of slides. So I got 54, and we're on slide 6. So.
Oh, my
All right, I'm going to shut up.
Keep moving. Just one
Okay.
question here that I see before we move forward.
If we
John?
don't get through this, Alex, is it possible you can upload them so they can have these?
Yeah, definitely, but I'm going to try to go through them, especially because a lot of these slides are from the course already, so I'm going to go through them a little bit.
Okay,
quickly.
all right. I'll hand it off and I'll shut up.
All right, so I see just one more question here from John. So he's saying, what about when it says audience not available? So I have seen a couple of support tickets and people writing in the group, so you can actually find a fan page on Facebook, and you can see that there's people there, but when you try to target it, Facebook doesn't give you anything. So that actually can happen sometimes, and there's nothing you can do about it. There are some pages that I've been trying to target with a couple million likes, but Facebook just doesn't see it as an interest. I don't know why, but when that happens, you just got to move on and drop that audience and move on to something that it can target. So that's why before you actually start creating the ads and all those things, you want to make sure that the audience is in Facebook and that you can actually target it. All right, so let me move on to the next step. So now what you should do once the ads actually start running. So first things first, you gotta let the ad run. Okay, so don't panic too early. You gotta do this for 3 days minimum, $5 a day, that's $15. And if it doesn't work, then that's it. Don't put more money into that same ad. If you don't get a sale after spending $15 and waiting 2-3 days, then you gotta move on to the next one. So now, how to tell if your ad is working or not. So I think JR covered this, and he did a great job covering this in the actual modules, but just want to do this, see if you guys have any questions. So basically, you got to look at the ROI. So what's your ROI so far? If it's non-existent, then obviously you don't want to pursue it. So you're going to let the ad just pause itself. If you've set it that it runs for 3 days, then you're going to let it pause itself and you're not going to continue. But even if you're getting a little bit of an ROI, so let's say you're spending $10 and you're making $10.10 or something, then think about if you were to invest $1,000 into that ad, and if you were to get such a small ROI, would you be happy with those earnings? So if I'm going to invest $10 and I'm going to get $11 back, that's $1 profit. Maybe I would not be too happy with those earnings, because if I put in $1,000, I'm going to get $100 back. So if you don't have a lot of money to invest into ads, then that's not really such a good thing for you. So you want to make sure that if you're putting in $10, maybe you're getting 20, 25, and then when you invest, if you were to invest like $1,000, you would get 2K, and that would already be more significant. So that's how you should tell if you want to continue running an ad or not. Obviously, if there's no ROI, you want to stop right away. If there is an ROI, think about it and imagine if you were to invest $1,000 at that ROI, would you be happy with the earnings? If the answer is no, then that means you don't want to run the ad. Okay, so this is just a quick example on ROI. This is how you calculate it, just in case some of you guys are not aware. And just two examples. So let's say you spend $122 on an ad, and your profit is $119. So very simple, negative ROI, your ad's not working, you gotta try again. The second example, you spend, let's say, $153, you get $309, so that's an ROI of 101%. So that means basically you put $153, you got double. So that means the ad is working and it's time to start scaling. So this is how you tell if you should continue with an ad or not. So what I would recommend is that you really stick to this and you don't try to make excuses for your ad. So because I see this happening a lot. For example, you're putting $10, you get 11, and then you're thinking, okay, well I got $1, but maybe if I invest more money, it's somehow going to turn into an ROI of 200% or 300%. Chances are that's not going to happen. So just make sure that you don't trick yourself into making excuses for an ad. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You got to move on to the next one. So now I want to talk about a couple possible problems of a losing ad and help you guys troubleshoot this. So there's a couple of indicators that we look at so that we know what's wrong with our ad. And I think this, for me and for JR, kind of just became intuitive, and now we just look at the ad and we know what it is, but we actually sat down and we thought about it because we wanted to create a couple of indicators for you guys so that you're able to tell even if the intuition is not yet kicking in because you haven't been doing it for a long time. So just follow these indicators and you'll pretty much be able to always tell what's wrong with your ad. So the first one is your ad is not showing to people. So you launch your ad, but it's not showing. You're not getting any impressions, or you might get low impressions, nothing's happening, no clicks. So this means that your budget is not aligned with your audience, so it can be either the interest or the size. So you're targeting something that is very expensive, and Facebook just can't show them much for $5 a day. So that's what's happening if you can't get any impressions and Well, yeah, if you can't get any impressions, then this is what's happening. And then what you want to do here is you want to either try a different audience. You could also increase your budget, but that goes against the rules. So I would not recommend you do that. So you want to pause the ad, try a different audience, and do not break the budget rules because you're going to end up spending more money than you should. So yeah, actually just cover this. So if it's a low budget, increase your budget, go after another audience. Another thing that could happen is maybe you put too much text on your ad. So Facebook can actually sometimes lower your impressions if you use too much text. So in that case, make a new ad image with less text. And you can actually go to Google and type Facebook 20% image check. Just upload your image there, and Facebook's going to tell you right away if the image has too much text or not. Okay, so indicator number 2, high CPC and low CTR. So I think, Jerry, you explained this in the modules, exactly what CPC is and CTR and all that stuff. So if you guys don't know this, you have this in the module. So make sure you watch those videos again, but I think most of you already did. So anyway, cost per click, CPC, tells you the cost of an average click from your ad to your website. So you can see this on Facebook. It's going to tell you this is how much a click costs. Now the CTR, it's the percentage of people that have clicked on your ad after seeing, that have clicked on somewhere on your ad after seeing it in their Facebook newsfeed or in the sidebar. So, you know, let's say 100 people, your ad appears for 100 people in their newsfeed. Out of those 100 people, one of them clicks. So your CTR is 1%. Now, if you see high CPC, so if you're paying a lot per click, and we're going to look at some examples later so you can get an idea of what a high cost per click is, then if you see a high cost per click, what you want to do is check your click-through rate. So if your click-through rate is too low, then what this means is your ad is not appealing to your target audience. So you're showing your ad to people, but they're just scrolling and they're not clicking on it. So you need to do a better job with getting people's attention with your ad. So yeah, one of the problems with ad image, very likely that this is the case, so you want to try a different ad image. It could also be that you're targeting the wrong audience, so you're putting an image that would be good if you were to show it to the right audience, but because you're showing it to the wrong audience, it doesn't work. So in that case, you want to drop the ad and start again. Now, indicator number 3, you're getting a good click-through rate, but you're not getting any sales. So let's say your click-through rate, 1, 2, 3%. Pretty much anything above 1% is good. If it's less than 1%, then you might want to take a look at that ad because it's not going to do that well. So a good click-through rate means that people are engaging with your ad and clicking on it. So you're targeting the right audience because you're showing them an image of your product and they're clicking on it, they're engaging with it, which means that it is the right audience, that's why they're clicking on it. But if you aren't getting sales, then there's a problem. So what this means is that your website is failing to convert people who click on your ad. And there could be a couple of reasons for that. I know most of you would think, okay, my website's bad, but that's not necessarily true. So the first thing, and that I see people, so this problem is that most, I see this people have all the time, there's just a disconnect between the ad and the landing page. So they're saying one thing on the ad, but then when they click on it and land on your site, there's a disconnect, right? So it's maybe a different image of the product, or like the colors are weird there, or something's wrong. So you want to make sure that you have a strong ad to landing page set. And in the modules, you've seen how we keep it very simple. Our site is white with clear images, and then in the ads we reflect the same, just white text, black on white, and we got the image of the product, and that's pretty much it. Just keep it simple so that there is no disconnect between the image and the landing page. Now another problem could be the website is failing to convert. You might be having some technical issues, in which case you need to test your website before you go live and make sure that there are no payment problems or anything like that. And the third one could be the different images on ads and product pages, right? So if you're showing one image on the ad, but that's not the main image on your product page, then you want to see about changing the main product page on the website so that it matches the product image of the ad. So I hope this makes sense. So let me see if you guys have any questions here real quick. The audience doesn't show up. Yes, I see one. If the audience doesn't show up in the ads, means too many people are targeting that group.
Yeah, I saw that, Alex. I asked her a question on that because I've never heard that. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I've never heard that. I was curious where she got that information from.
Yeah, I am too, because it makes sense, but it almost doesn't make sense because Facebook wants your money to advertise.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're making too much money. Let's stop other people. Right. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let me move on to the rest of my slides, and then later I guess we can come back to this and see what everyone else has to say, because we are running out of time a little bit. So just wanted to let you guys know about something that's happening right now, and that's been typical usually when you advertise. So in the last couple of months of the year, what happens, especially on Facebook, is a lot of big companies actually start getting try to get rid of their remaining marketing budgets for the year. So what sometimes happens is the advertising costs can be a little higher. Okay, so this doesn't mean that the costs are double or anything like that, but they can be a bit higher by 20–30% or so. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because you should expect the cost to drop in January or so once all these big companies actually give their money to Facebook and they deplete their budget for the year. Then when the next year starts, usually the cost drops a little bit. So just something to keep in mind. Again, this is nothing major and it should not stop you from advertising right now. But this is more like good news, because in January the costs are going to be lower, so it's going to be even better for you guys. Okay, so now I think we've covered this in the course. JR has walked you through it, but I just wanted to give you some examples of these campaigns that we've set up. We got a couple of losing campaigns, also a couple of winning campaigns, and I just want to look at the stats with you and talk about those indicators in real life examples. So this is one of the products we had, and this is the ad that we set up. So as you can see, for this one, we spent $8.77, paid about $1 a click, which is a bit too much, and we got 9 clicks. And I think we let this run for another $1 or $2, and then when it reached $10, we actually stopped this campaign. So this was the ad that we used. This is kind of the format that we're using for our ads. We do test out other things, but this format has been working quite well for us, and very simple. And I think another reason why we're using this is just because it's quick to make the ads. So we need to make a lot of ads, test them out quickly, and this format's just very simple to make. You just take the product image, put it on one side, the text on the other, you put the button there, and you're good to go. And this is what I would recommend you also do when it comes to the ads. It's important to move quickly. So instead of pushing $100 into one ad, just put $10–15 into one ad, create another one, and just keep testing. And those $100, make sure you're testing them out and spread it out over 5, 6, 7 ads, so that you get results. And that way, you just want to test as many as possible. And putting ads together is really not complicated. So you got to get used to this. Just making simple ads, putting them out there, and seeing what happens. This is the main thing that I think a lot of people are not doing quickly enough. So you want to make sure that you're able to create these ads as quickly as possible and start testing them. So this is the audience that we've set up. And actually, let me go back here. So yeah, what I want to show you here is just the cost per click was pretty high. So usually we would pay less, and you're going to see for some of our winning campaigns it costs less. The reach was okay, but we only got 9 clicks here, so we decided that it didn't really make sense for us to keep the ad running. And so yeah, the verdict here was the audience was not interested in buying the product, and it was a high cost per click. So we did get 9 clicks. It was not really the audience was not really interested in the product. We paid too much per click, so something that it's an ad that we just wanted to stop. That makes sense for us. So another campaign is this ring over here. We did free plus shipping on this. Yeah.
I'd also be willing to bet that it wasn't getting a whole lot of reach because you really had a lot of text on that. It looked like way more than 20% to me.
Could be. I think I tested the ad, but it could be that it was a bit more than 20%.
Yeah, but just so people are looking at that. I wouldn't suggest creating a 50-50 image like that, just because that to me looks like a lot more than 20% text. But a lot of times Facebook will let you know too.
Yeah, you definitely want to test out the ads before you run with it. So if it tells you that it's more than 20%, then you might want to look into testing it. What I try to do is put all of this text into, I mean, you'll see when you upload your ad into Facebook and the way they calculate it. It's not exactly, they're not really looking for 20%. You might even have sometimes less, but they're going to tell you that you have more because of the way that they calculate it. So they create some grids, and then they look at those grids, and if they see that your text enters 4 of those grids, then it's going to tell you it's too much text. So you want to make sure that you keep it.
A percentage of the size of the image.
Hey, Alex, Linda is also asking if you stopped your ad after losing ad after 1 day or 3.
I think that was 2 days. Yeah, we stopped on that one after 2 days.
It's painfully obvious, guys, and you're getting like nothing off it, and you spend $10 and you got tons of impressions. You can stop it earlier, but if it's uncertain, then you want to wait 3 days. But you don't want to go over 3 days, and still have a losing ad. This is, what's the point? And I will tell you, anybody who does ads has losing ads. If somebody's telling you that every ad they do wins, they're lying to you. It doesn't work that way. The whole thing about ads is you try a bunch to find one that works. That's just the way it is. And that's not, any expert will tell you that,
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let me see. We got another example here. I'm just going to go through these examples a bit quicker, and you're going to have the slides, and you guys can take a look at that because we are running out of time, and I want to leave some time for a Q&A as well. So the next one that we tested out, the cost per click was a little bit less. We got 15 clicks, but again, we did not get any sales here. And one thing to keep in mind, so if you're spending $10 on an ad, your product also costs $10. So if you already spent $10 and you didn't make a sale, then that's why you should know it's time to stop it, because nothing magical is going to happen if you keep spending more and more money to see if you're going to get sales. And this is actually the beauty of being able to test dropshipping products, because they're so cheap, and you're going to find out if it's working or not very early on. For example, some products that we sell for $1,000, it's a lot more complicated to test and figure out if it's working or not. But with these products, it's super simple. If it costs $10, you've already spent 10 and you didn't get a sale, it's time to move on. So the second one, you can see the ad over here and the audience that we've targeted. The verdict on this one was the cost per click was okay, but the audience did not seem interested in buying the product. So either they didn't like the product or we didn't target the audience right. Whatever it is, it just didn't work for us, and we want to be able to make a quick decision and move on to the next one. Now, the third one over here, some pretty cool rings. We also did free plus shipping on this. The cost per click was all right. Same thing with the link clicks, 13 link clicks, no website purchases. You can see the ad over here and the audience. So over here in the audience, I've targeted additional interest elephant, because this is an elephant boho ring set. So then I left all of those spiritual interests before. I just added an additional interest because I thought this was going to get a bit more targeted, but the high cost per click and just the audience not buying the product, we decided to drop the ad and move on because we've already spent about $10 on it. Now, the fourth campaign that didn't work for us was this elephant necklace. So over here, again, 10 clicks, pretty much the same cost per click, 0.84. No sales on this one after spending almost $9. And that's it. Just verdict, ad image copy, not performing that well, low number of clicks, time to move on to the next one. So I want you guys to see how easy for us it is to say goodbye to an ad. I know that it might be a little bit harder for you in the beginning because you're spending so much time working on that ad image and deciding on the targeting and everything, and then it's just kind of hard to say goodbye to all of that work after just 2 days, and that's why you want to keep spending more money. But once you start doing this, it's gonna become a habit for you to put out ad images very quickly, and just make sure you keep it simple so that it's easy for you, and so that you can literally set up a new ad in 10-15 minutes, and you set up 2, 3, 4 of those ads per day, and you're following our formula, and you're doing the same thing that we are doing. So very important to be able to say goodbye to the ads quickly, create a new one, and move on. And this is what happened with a winning campaign that we set up. So as you can see, $18.95 is what we sold this for. And this one, I noticed on the first day, we got a sale, so I actually increased the budget to $10 a day after that. And what happened here, the cost per click was lower, so 0.37. We got 53 clicks. We got a pretty good reach, and then the amount we spent was $20, and website purchases $37.90. So that's 2 sales that we got for this. We are selling a product for almost $19, and it cost us $9 to get 1 sale. So that's an ROI of about 100%. So this is definitely something that I would start scaling. And the way to scale, the easiest way, just increase the budget. That's the easiest way, and then you go back into Audience Analyzer, and you see what other audiences you can target so that you can keep scaling this. So yeah, this was the ad. This one actually had a bit less text, so maybe that's why it got more a higher reach than the other ads. And you can see the targeting was pretty much the same. We didn't change much there, just targeted the same group. And the verdict, low cost per click. It seems like it was a good audience choice for this product. Quickly, it got a lot of impressions. It was a good ad image. The only thing is, I'm not sure if the audience likes the product yet. And you can see how I'm being critical of these ads, even though it's making me money and I'm seeing a 100% ROI. It's not proof enough that the audience likes the product. It's just 2 sales. So I want to keep putting in more money now to see what happens when I scale it to $50 or $100 a day. So I think this ad did pretty well after this test. We kept scaling it a little bit, and I think we got more sales from this. And then another example. So this one, I would never say that this one would work because it was a pretty bad ad, if you ask me. So very simple, just I don't know, some crystals there on one side. Black and white, but as you can see, this one worked really well. So cost per click 0.4. We got 99 clicks. We spent $40, and this is because I increased the budget. I saw it working, so I increased the budget on this one, and we made $125. So the product, let me see, I think this was free plus shipping. I think the price was about $17.95 or something for shipping. And it cost us $5 to get 1 sale, so that's about 300% ROI if I'm not mistaken. So this one was pretty good, and as you can see, I was not convinced that it would work. It didn't really look anything special, but I just put it out there, just another ad that I'm going to test. And when you go in with that mindset, you just want to test, and you're not too attached to one product or one ad. Because I've spoken to some people and they're saying, I made this beautiful ad, so I'm going to put it up, and I want to, they're paying so much attention to that ad and investing so much money in it, but you should just do it quickly. This is the formula that works, so you want to do it quickly, move quickly. Do not spend too much time on one ad, and do not get attached to your ads. I know you spend time on it, but this is how the business works. Just put it out there in 15 minutes, move on to the next one. You want to test as many as possible until you find your winning campaigns. So yeah, over here, good audience choice, good CPC. The audience seemed to like the product because we got more sales. So I can now say that yes, the audience likes the product. And I was confident that when I was going to increase the budget, I would actually get a lot more sales. So definitely a campaign to scale further. So that's pretty much it. I just got a couple more things, a couple more myths that I've been hearing in the group that I want to go over, and I'm sure JR and Jessica, you guys can add some more. So just one of the big things that I've seen in the support chat as well, I mean the support tickets, is just people saying I need a big brand to get sales, people are not going to trust my website, but this is really not true. So people buy from hundreds of websites online, and yes, if they go on Amazon, maybe they're going to buy more from Amazon because obviously they trust them. But one thing to keep in mind, you've seen what our websites look like, and if we're able to make money with websites that look like that, then you really don't need to concern yourself about not being Amazon. You just need to put up a simple website. We're not asking people to give us thousands of dollars, 10, 20 bucks. You don't need to have a super big brand for people to give you 10, 20 bucks. So keep this in mind, and don't let this discourage you, and just don't get too much into your head with this, because I know I used to do that in the past. So it doesn't matter. Just put up that website. You've seen what our site looks like. Get out there and do it. Another one is just people thinking their website is missing something, and that's why it's not really working. Well, we've shown you what we're using on our sites, so we don't have a bunch of cool things. We just keep it simple. We want to make it simple so that people can see the products when they get on our site. It's easy for them to purchase, and that's it. There's not more to it. We have a few seals here and there just to show them that they can trust the website, the secure payment, all those things. And then we also do some scarcity, which I've shown you guys, or JR has shown you in the modules, how to add those things in your videos. You got those things, that's all you need, you're good to go. And another thing that I think people spend too much time on is trying to create really good ads. So you don't need super good ads. Keep them simple, put the product image, make sure it's consistent with the image of the product on your website. Write a simple text on it, just describe the product. You always want to give them a reason why you're discounting the product or why you're doing free plus shipping, and that's it. Just create as many ads as possible, set your daily budget, start running them, and you're going to see things happen if you run a bunch of ads. It's just proven, because I know how you've seen these 7 ads that we did. 2 of those we're able to scale and make money from, and we've only spent about $50 on the ads that didn't work, and then those that we can scale, we can make hundreds and thousands of dollars from those ads later on. So that's it. I think I'm all out of slides. JR, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, on just adding on to the ad thing, not for the overuse of the word ad, but you have a spy tool that you can go in and look at posts on Facebook, and then just select the ones that are popular and copy them. I mean, you don't have to come up with an answer for everything. You can actually go in there and look, what a popular post is and what they did. Just do something similar to that. And when I say copy, I don't mean word for word, their image and all that. I just mean, you can see basically what works. There's so many examples out there, and you have the software to do it. I think a lot of times we give you so many tools that you forget you have tools to do all this stuff for you, and it makes it so much easier. And the other thing that I see with newbies, whether they were salespeople when I first worked with them, or whether they were people running ads on Facebook, is they get so discouraged if something doesn't work out or if they run into a problem. Problems are part of growing your business. That's just the way it is. The only way you're going to learn stuff is if you learn what doesn't work. Okay, so don't expect to go out there and instantly make money. It doesn't work that way. The way you prevent yourself from losing a lot of money is to invest very little. And like Alex said, if you're only spending $5 a day, go in there and edit your placements, make sure it's just going to Facebook, because otherwise Facebook's going to try to spread that to Instagram and to Messenger and to everything, to web pages and everything, to all their advertiser network, and that $5 isn't going to go far. So you've got enough people in Facebook, you've got the tools to figure out what ads work, use those tools and make a bunch of different ads. That's basically it. There is no brain surgery to this. The toughest part is learning how to use the interface at Facebook to set up an ad. That's the toughest thing. And the toughest thing to wrap your mind around is you need a campaign, then you need an ad set which decides on your audience, and then you need your different ads. That's the toughest thing to wrap your mind around. If you have any questions, type them in the box there. I know we've gone way over today, but that's okay because you got a lot of great information from Alex, and that's the important thing. And you know, everybody's sticking in there, which there's nobody's leaving, which is really good. But if you got any questions about ads, type them in there real quick, and we'll take those. Anything you want to add, Jessica?
Yeah, actually, I really quickly want to just touch on organization because it really is going to be so key, and I think most people overlook it, especially when they're just starting out. You're going to get a year down the road, and you're going to be like pulling your hair out trying to figure out how to get through and look at your old ads to see what worked and what didn't work because you didn't organize it. So make sure every step of the way that you are labeling everything, come up with a labeling system that you understand, and make sure your campaign is labeled, make sure your ad sets are labeled, and make sure your ads are labeled. And if you make a change, then label what kind of change you made in the new ad or in the new ad set. And Facebook allows you to do that, so make sure you're labeling everything really, really well. And I think just to expand upon what JR said, the hardest part is figuring out the interface. And what I want you guys to do right now is pull out a piece of paper and draw 3 boxes. All right, are you all doing that? Grab a piece of paper, draw 3 boxes. In the first box, I want you to write campaign equals goal. In the second box, I want you to write ad set equals targeting. And in the third box, I want you to write ad equals image and copy. Because that really, put it on a Post-it, put it right there on the bottom of your screen so you can always look at it and know that's going to also be the basis for your labeling. Know what your goal is for your campaign and label everything. So I think that's what I want to share with you.
Yeah, make sure the label makes sense too. Don't put ad 1, ad 2, ad 3.
No.
That doesn't work. You know, you got to put in there like, this is, I don't know, my competitor's audience, and put the name of the competitor in there, and this is the lookalike audience I built from that. You know, that way you can just glance at it and you know exactly what it is. Alex, you got anything else to add?
No, I think I've covered pretty much everything. So yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I post this in the members area as soon as possible, so you guys can have all the notes, and I think that's about it.
All right, guys, thank you so much for showing up. We certainly appreciate your participation, and we're going to go ahead and end this call now, and we will see you on the next coaching call. Talk to you later. Alex, I think you need to end it on your end.
All right.